Do not fear. Saf is here. This is Saf Buxy from Spirituality Gone Wild, and we are Saf Surgery, inspirational people, inspirational stories. And thank you and welcome for another fantastic. I mean, I'm doing a Saf Surgery first today. I've got two guests at the same time. It's like a bit of a tag team stuff going on. Tag team back again. It's going to be great. So let me introduce these wonderful ladies, these wonderful human beings that are joining me today. Dominique Hatcher and Casey. I don't know how to say the surname, so I'm not even going to attempt. But Dom and Casey are here with us today. Dom's been on the show before, but I want to just introduce them and give them some room and give them some space, because these two ladies are absolutely incredible. Dominique is a mental evolutionist and trauma therapist, leveraging through knowledge of computer operating systems and their symbiosis with the mechanics of the brain. She's able to apply vision engineering skills in a unique approach towards client evolutionary desires, such as improved quality of life and removal of trauma patterns. She's as a military veteran, Dominique has a lot of experience with people who feel they need to be strong rather than ask for help, and she has dedicated herself to overcome this inaccuracy. And these are her words: "We all have trauma, and it's nearly impossible to see the big picture from within that vantage point." Dominique stands wholeheartedly behind her gifts as an intuitive, intellectual, and active therapist. She has used her techniques to help hundreds of veterans and trauma encounters, which she is able to actively and successfully transform into the opportunities for power that we can all obtain. She's a wonderful woman, and I'm so happy to have her on board. And joining her this evening is the wonderful Casey. Casey grew up in West Milford, NJ, and I'm assuming NJ is New Jersey. I'm sure she'll correct me if it's not. Casey's sister was diagnosed with severe autism when she was about 6 years old, and her father suffered from his own mental health issues from a traumatic childhood. His behaviors aligned with being bipolar, and as you know, I'm also bipolar, but he refused to formally get diagnosed. They isolated themselves in their house in the woods because her sister had behavioral episodes in public settings and often tried to leave the house. In high school, Casey's father made a bad investment, and they lost their house. So she asked her parents to sign her up to go into US Marine Corps, and she was only 17. And she did this to alleviate the financial burden of college of her mother. Casey's mother was a hard-working RN that made her promise to get a degree after the military. So Casey joined the Marine Corps, and this is fascinating, in 2008. She was there till 2013 and was a helicopter electrician. She deployed to Helmand Province, Afghanistan, for 7 months in 2012. Her military contract ended in 2013, but during her time in the Marines, she faced sexual harassment and unwanted touching consistently, which caused her to be very, very angry and develop a poor relationship patterns. So after leaving the military, she worked as a construction manager in Manhattan for about a year, and then she became pregnant with a wonderful daughter, and she decided to leave the construction and go to college, become an RN. She earned her bachelor's in nursing and started out as a neuro nurse, working with traumatic brain injury patients, and now she practices as a surgical nurse at a plastic surgery in Manhattan. And she's also, getting her master's to be a nurse practitioner. These two ladies are incredible. In her own time, Casey is independently developing herself as a cannabis nurse to educate both patients and healthcare providers about the use and considerations of cannabis use in medicine. These two ladies are absolutely incredible, and I'm just so excited to have them here. And I'm gonna get them on. So, Dominique and Casey, where you at, guys? Hey, how you doing? I'm so honored and privileged to have you, Dom. I know you from before. We've been on a couple of platforms together, and that's where we welcome to Saf Surgery. And also, Casey, welcome to Saf Buxy. You're a first timer here, so I hope you enjoy the experience. But I know you're quite experienced in podcasts and TV, so this is quite easy for you. So, guys, today is about honoring both of you. I want to honor you. I want the audience who are watching live, the audience who are going to be watching this later, to appreciate what you guys have been through, what you guys do today, and your work and how you inspire so many people around you. So I'm going to pass the floor to you, but before we do, there are a few messages. Hi, Angel, how you doing? Hi, Kelly, what's up? Hey, what's up, Jed? Awesome. What's up, bro? Oh, we got Steve Webber, more Dominique and Casey. I don't know what he means by that. I hope you're behaving yourself, Steve. You know what I'm saying? So typical Steve Webber. And now we've got the wind is really loud. It is Sandra. Dom is in some exotic place. It's one of those things. If you can hear us, that's great. If you can't hear myself and Casey when we speak, oh, it's got a bit better now. When Dom does that, it's actually quite a bit better. So
I'll just look like Mariah Carey all day. It's fine.
That's okay. Right, guys. So I guess we'll start with you, Dom, because you've been on the show before. You know what I'm about, and you know how relaxed we are. So tell the audience a bit about yourself and how you. Tell us about a young Dom. Over to you. Dom's frozen, Casey.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to you, Casey.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to you, Casey. Obviously, first time on the show. Could you please share with us a young Casey, some of the experiences you went through, and what you do today, and how you got to where you are? Over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you had a pretty detailed bio on me, so I mean, they know everything that they may need to know. But younger me was very angry, for lack of a better term. You know, I had a lot of anger towards other people that may have not understood my sister or my situation, and a lot of residual anger that kind of came from my father that I didn't even know was affecting me at the time. It's just being in an emotionally violent household. You know, I was very fortunate that my father was never physically violent with us, but he was, you know, had very poor emotional regulation and, you know, very poor control over his anger and his own issues. So as a young child, you know, you're seeing your sister kind of have outbursts, you're seeing your father have outbursts. It's only natural for me to kind of develop some similar tendencies when, you know, dealing with my own emotions. So, you know, growing up, I was kind of a loner, obviously, because we did isolate ourselves for the most part because she couldn't be in large public spaces. She would have, you know, a lot of sensory issues, loud noises, anything like that. If you're not familiar with autism, loud noises or a large crowd of people do get them very agitated and upset. So a lot of the times we would either have to split the family for events where, you know, my mother would stay home with my sister and we would go, or we would just find something that was a little bit more autism friendly, you know, so to speak. But this, you know, kind of pushed me to have a drive while I was growing up. It gave me an immense amount of responsibility, so I was used to having that as a young age. And then it also gave me a sense of, you know, I need to be able to do things on my own because we didn't do a lot of group activities. I didn't, you know, I played on soccer teams and everything like that, but I didn't have a lot of close friendships due to our situation. So, you know, I kind of rolled with that into the military and kind of carried that angst and tried to channel it into productivity, which worked for a long time for me until, you know, you can only carry emotions until your bucket's so full before it kind of tips over. And that was what kept kind of happening to me is I would go through periods where I was great. And then my you know, my bucket would overfill or overflow, and, you know, all of my emotions would come out in the way that I was taught as a child between my sister and my father. And, you know, it was a vicious cycle. And I kind of had to, in my adult life, break out of that. And especially as I became a registered nurse, I couldn't, you know, let my emotional regulation get in the way of my professionalism. So that's pretty much, my past 10 years of trying to be on that path and try to become a better person and a better RN,
Wow. In the bio,
Mhm.
I've got a echo over there. Can you hear the echo?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. In the bio, you mentioned that your father showed signs of bipolar.
Yes.
I mean, I could resonate so much because I've been diagnosed with bipolar, and I remember once, and this might resonate with you. Someone told me that I would never get a house, and I came back with 6 houses.
That's good.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly. So you mentioned about an investment that didn't turn out the way it should have. I mean, do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah,
Because how that affected you?
So my father first of all, never underestimate anybody just because of mental health. I mean, a lot of the times, just from my own personal experience, when you have a mental health issue, you excel in other areas because, just like any kind of other senses, compensate. So my father was a very, very capable man. He gave me a lot of my work ethic and a lot of my drive today. But what was most difficult for him was patience and personal skills, where he would always end up kind of fighting a business partner or something along the line, and he was very insistent on getting success quickly. So he didn't always put in the legwork because he was more focused on that impulsivity. I want this now. This is what needs to happen now. This is the way to do it. I should have been rich, X amount of years ago. This is what's owed to me, was kind of the mentality. And with that, he took out a large portion of the house equity and put it towards the stock market. So, the house that we did work to maintain was now belonged to the stock market, which didn't pan out because it was during the 2008 recession in the United States. So we ended up losing the house due to the investment. And it just speaks for a little bit of the impulsivity that you so when he was high or, really trying to make that money, he would do whatever he felt necessary to reach that goal.
And how did that affect the family when you were more or less homeless? You lost your family home.
Yeah.
Your sister, your sister's obviously suffering with autism, and there were issues there. Your mother's work was working very hard to try and provide, if you like, especially more so possibly when. How did that? I mean, that must have taken a lot out of you. That must have done a lot of damage to you in some ways.
It was pretty detrimental to our entire family. I think we recently just started really healing from it. My mother finally came out of bankruptcy, a couple years ago, and we kind of started finally recovering just from the emotional trauma that happened. My mother moved in with her mother. My father just initially didn't want to go. He was a little bit in denial, stayed in the house for a long time. My mother had my sister and my younger brother, and so they had to go and start in new schools and get, and my sister had to get into her program. So she really didn't have the option to sit with my dad and squat in the house to see what would really happen. He did end up getting evicted, and I went off to boot camp. And so, from there, I really didn't have a relationship with my father for the next 3 or so years because I was very angry, and it was very easy to just cut him off because, I was in the military. I just don't answer any correspondence. I felt guilty leaving my mother and my sister and my brother at this time, but also it alleviates the financial burden. I'm one less mouth to feed. I'm one less tuition to worry about. My school tuition was going to be paid for, but it was a huge fracture in our family, and it's something that we still have not fully recovered from. We just learned to live in, if that makes sense. But I think we're frozen. I don't know if that's me or you.
I can't tell if it's frozen again.
Yeah, I think that's this time.
Unless he's very good at freezing his face. It's interesting. I've had very similar experiences with my family, and I tell people all the time, the military really was a saving grace, even though it couldn't be considered like a challenge for a lot of people. It was definitely my happy place for a very long time.
Absolutely. I find that so many veterans, like when you talk to them, the military was their kind of like their escape from wherever they were running from, or, you know, wherever they were coming
Yeah.
from.
And then the family you make. I mean, the reason I really even joined was I didn't have close family. There was never that like camaraderie really within my family, unit. So for me, joining the military, ingraining into that community, that was the family, family you make and
Absolutely. It's
will
an
never
instant.
make again.
Yeah. Whether you like it or not, it's an instant family.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I try so hard to explain to people the camaraderie that we build, and it's just like it's nearly impossible if you haven't been in to understand military mindset and even the way that we joke around, like completely different.
The only way you can kind of describe it is like you live and work with the same people all the time. So imagine just being co-workers with you and how that would different relationships. Like that's the only way you can kind of start to imagine.
Exactly. And then,
misery. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, you build brothers and sisters full on. Like, we even have to get up at 04 to, like, go to formation because somebody got a DUI.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Because you're all in it together. It's just like a family like that way. You're all getting punished together. You're all.
Yep. Whatever you do, it's all together.
Hello, guys.
Hey,
that was a really good screen space.
I thought I'd go for a break, so I'm back now. Anyway, so,
decided, yeah.
Yeah, man. But not that what you were saying was fascinating. Where did I leave you at?
Yeah. We kind of went over just how the family dynamic ended up.
Yeah. Sorry about that. My internet sort of went a bit scatty, so one of those things. Dom, welcome, Dom.
Thank you. My internet went a little goofy too, so that's why I kind of fell out.
we all came out.
I'm in Mexico, so that's very common here. Spotty Wi-Fi.
That's okay, but it looks absolutely beautiful where you're at.
It is. It's gorgeous. Let me show you the water.
Oh wow! Look at that.
Oh, beautiful.
Can't be mad. I'm actually trying to do a retreat out here for veterans with PTSD. So I'm out here kind of sussing out the places and sorting out, the logistics and all of that so that we can hold a retreat. It's a very special space here. It's a very ancient site, obviously. So just the energy, it's very much an energy vortex here. And so I think that a lot of veterans could really benefit from that peaceful, grounded energy that is here. And then, it's just a very supportive environment that's great for growth and sort of, feeling like a community, which we were just speaking about, Casey and I.
Wow. Right, Dom. Obviously, for the purpose of people who haven't heard you before, can you share a bit about your past, a bit about your growing up, what a young Dom was like?
Oh man, a grasshopper probably. That's what I always think when I look at my baby pictures. So I grew up we were sort of speaking as well about the family that I grew up in was not very close. We had our moments of camaraderie, but typically not so much. I mean, even to this day, sort of very broken home. My mom was a single mom, 5 kids. I got a job at 11 years old, making about $2 an hour so that I could do gymnastics because we couldn't afford to. So I would literally go to elementary school, go to the job, and then go to the gym as much as possible. And I basically was out of the house from that day forward. And I just remember at a very, very young age looking around at these people and thinking, I'm stuck with these angry people for 10 more years, And so I ended up actually leaving the house at 15 for college and hadn't gone back. So very much an independent road. And then, of course, I joined the military after an attempted music career that I crashed my car, my house car. I crashed at one point, and then I was kind of like, the only option left was the military. So I joined, and again, the happiest thing really that could have happened for my life. You build a community there. You build a bunch of friends that you could probably never find anywhere else, and people that really have your back. And then I was in the government space for a long time after that. So that combined with when I was 11, the job that I worked was for a former spy. He was a Czechoslovakian spy. I believe he worked for Canada, and this was during the Cold War. And he did a lot of mental training, mental awareness, visioneering type of work. And let me know if the wind is too much so I can cover the speaker. But yeah, he did a lot of different incredible things with his mind and just explained to me hypnosis. He taught me the initial visualization techniques, how to, I was a gymnast, how to visualize myself into doing a flip properly, just by kind of going over it and over it in my head before I went to bed each night. And so from there, I've just sort of built on that. I then worked in the computer industry through high tech. My company's high tech. I worked for the government with computers for so long that I just realized this is an operating system. And it stores information and memories all throughout it. Trauma, self-doubt, beliefs of positive nature, all throughout it. It's sort of crystalline in nature, and it's water, so osmosis. Think of it like that. And if you relate that to a computer and my familiarity with the computer, I'm able to sort of defrag and attempt to modulate, modify the different software, upgrade software, antivirals. This kind of thing is what I explain it to people as when I'm going through my work. And helping in trauma related, especially so PTSD, assault victims. Everyone has trauma, everyone. Not one of us can say we don't have some traumatic moments that's really taken us through our loop. And then, unfortunately, a lot of that comes from our childhood, and we don't even realize it's there. So it's basically the mainframe of our computer. So my effort is to go to that little cluster of malformed information and attack it, remove it, and then reintroduce it once the foundation is recreated, the healthy foundation, recreate that, and then build off of that. Because if we're building off faulty foundations, we're going to be like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, right? We're just going to fall over at some point. None of the good things are going to stick. Everything's going to flop off. That's great. And then you're just going to have more and more sort of crustaceans growing off of you. So I think the most important thing is really getting to the roots of our old traumas, our old beliefs, our negative beliefs. And that's why I call it Heal Your Six, because as people know, like in the military, we say we've got your six, which means we've got your back, 6 o'clock. And for me, a lot of this stuff that's held is in our subconscious mind, right, to the back of your head. So it's heal your six, heal your subconscious. That's the goal there. So my company for the NLP and healing therapy work, rapid transformational therapy, is healyoursix.com. And again, so working a lot with veterans, I'll do at least 100 cases for PTSD every year and assault victims for free, nonprofit, and then working with everybody with trauma throughout the year as well. Any appointment that you want, we can work through things very, very quickly. And I just associate all of this back to like I was built for this. My upbringing, all of my life kind of just worked into this very streamlined process for me to be very good at this particular thing and helping people is already in my nature. So I think I was built for it, from the ground up.
Thanks, Dom. I was interested to find out, how do you guys know each other? How did you guys meet?
Well, we met through social media. Go ahead, JP.
Yeah, I had to think about it, but yeah, it was through social media.
I had seen one of her programs that she's done previously, and I forget the host for that one. Sorry, correct me. But yeah, she's just such a wonderful interviewing, and of course, a female Marine, that's right.
But this is it. You were both in the military together, not together, but you both.
Together, no, but yeah.
I mean, Casey, how was it? Obviously, I mentioned briefly at the beginning about the harassment, the sexual harassment that you endured. I'll ask Dom in a minute because I don't think Dom really spoke too much about it the first time around. But would you like to share with the audience, with my viewers, what it was like as a woman in the military?
Yeah. So it's almost inevitable, at least the branch that I was in, the Marine Corps. If you're not familiar with the United States Marine Corps, in the US, it's one of the most, quote unquote, elite of the, military branches. So it's very male dominated. of the small percentage of women that join the military, an even smaller percentage join the Marine Corps. So, I kind of started off already outnumbered, so to speak. But I feel like any woman that joins any military force does face similar challenges that I faced, where it's just constant harassment in the form of so many things, comments. Sometimes you have you're in very close quarters. Sometimes you have unwanted touching that they say is an accident, but it's not an accident. And it's just like something on a daily basis. You kind of feel like you have a target. So, when you're walking past a group of men, you know that awkward silence, that everybody's staring at you. That another thing is that everybody knows your routine because you all live in the same building. So you know exactly where you're going to breakfast. You know exactly where you're going to lunch. You know exactly what time you get off work, what time you have, for the gym. So, it just makes for a recipe for bad situations, especially because, like any military branch, we love to drink. So drinking is always a huge part of military culture, which I think is what, aside from men and women being in close quarters and women, mostly being outnumbered, I think the biggest thing is the alcohol concept, because that's when things start to go from inappropriate to borderline, this is a dangerous situation. And that's when you start to feel like you're out, you would be one or two females maybe at a party full of 30 males or something like that, and that's when it starts to become, if somebody decided to do something, how can I even respond? Is anybody here going to help me, or are they going to turn a blind eye because they don't even want to be involved? Because the biggest thing is that nobody wants to be involved in a sexual harassment case. Nobody wants to be involved in a sexual abuse case. So the easiest thing is to not pretend it didn't happen, or pretend that whatever's happening in the moment isn't really happening. Oh, she's drinking. She really, she must be into him if she's not trying to leave. She's not trying to leave probably because she has nowhere to go. There's just a lot of factors that people don't take into consideration for females in the military, and it's just it's a difficult climate to adjust to.
I mean, what made you want to go to the Marines? I mean, you could have gone to any other.
Of course. So, as I spoke on my father earlier, he was a very highly capable man, and he wanted to make sure that he instilled that same drive into me. So anything I did, was to the extreme, because that's where he operated. He operated way up here. So he just kind of, if you're going to do it big. Do it, do the hardest one and just nail it. So that was always my mentality in life. So when it came time for me to apply for a military branch, of course, the Marines just stuck out to me. I said, oh, that's the hardest one. I want to try that one,
That's the fighting spirit from an early age. Huh?
Yeah.
So how did you cope through the sexual harassment, through the little touches, through the little comments? I mean, how did you get through that?
A lot of anger, a lot of binge drinking. I didn't drink every day, but when I did drink, I drank a lot of times, to the point of blacking out, which often got me into a lot of trouble, which is where I was talking about, like, the bucket overflows, because anything that I was really pushing down at that time came out. So, I ruined a lot of interpersonal relationships with alcohol there. Another coping mechanism is I just became very, very, very mean at work. It was the only way to get, you kind of give them a smile and they start to think that they're interested because you're treating them like a decent human being. But realistically, you're just trying to get through the workday. So I noticed that when I was really mean and aggressive, people stayed away from me a lot more. So, the first 3 years, I really tried to navigate, being who I was organically, but avoiding the unwanted attention, and that just didn't work out for me. So I just had to flip the whole script, and I just became super mean, super aggressive. I got a breast reduction as well, because I was very well endowed as a young girl, and it was something that was a constant point of, it was a constant target point for me. I was often referred to as tits. They really didn't give me like a name. Like everything was always about my breasts. Oh, you succeeded because of your breasts, so you are incapable because of your breasts. Anything in the book, they would throw it at you. So I just went ahead and got them surgically reduced when I was 20 years old. And Yeah.
So because of that abuse, because it is abuse, whichever way you look at it, that was the catalyst for you to get a breast reduction.
Absolutely. I was,
Wow.
I mean, I had it wasn't great on the back for, I had back issues too, but that wasn't really the driving point. The driving point was the constant approaches or comments or, little side things where it was just to the point where I'm going to take it away. Like, you have nothing to say to me anymore. If that portion is gone, now can you just treat me like a normal person?
So sorry to hear that. That you went through that. Dom, can you relate to that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very ridiculous. Actually, in the Marine Corps, they have a thing called what they call them WM, walking mattresses, or for the Marines, which is and it's everywhere. If you think about it, like a lot of these kids are right out of high school, they're college age kids, they're frat boys essentially, and that's how they act. Even though this is a professional establishment, that's how they treat women. They think for sure every woman wants them back. I had I don't even remember what his rank was, but a very high-ranking officer in the Navy one day. I was coming out of the gym, and he was like, "Did somebody say anything about your shorts?" And I was like, "Oh my God, nobody said anything really bad." He's like, "Oh, I like them." I'm like, "Okay, really? That's completely incorrect." Okay, but there's just harassment at small levels, and it's constant. You do have to absolutely become first an alcoholic typically, and second, you become kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
You kind of do, and I would at some point I got to the point where I would find the biggest guy in the room and just fight him so that everybody else would leave me alone. We'll see how close you get that, and then nobody else is going to continue to bother you. So it's unfortunate, and it's much as they sort of have created these rules that are meant to facilitate ease of transmission. I mean, it's really not. It's still embraced by the leadership. It's not handled appropriately still, and females are definitely targeted. And especially in the Marine Corps, you felt like you're made to feel like you have to not only be as good as the males, but better in order to be respected. And so constantly you're just trying to be better than everyone around you. And it's a very, very stressful environment. I think that once you do have that respect, and once you've earned your respect, you're pretty well off. But it took me taking a guy down in stilettos with a chokehold before I really got that. So it's unfortunate, but you kind of have to get they are in the opposite direction and just put your foot down as quickly as possible. But we shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't have to do that. We should just have respect and it's kind of ridiculous. And that's one of the reasons that I'm so advocate for assault victims as well, because again, that goes hand in hand with military for females. Unfortunately, just sometimes for women, that is very much, and it is very much for the female, as well as other things.
Cheers, Dom. We can hear a lot of wind. Just to say, so
that's what I figured. But let me mute, and I'll wait for the wind dash.
Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, it's really, what, Casey and Dom, it's really sad to hear that this happened, because I went to the junior army myself, not Marines or anything like that by any stretch, and I experienced a lot of abuse, apart from racism and sexual abuse, unfortunately.
Yes, it's present in males too. Women are not the only ones that suffer. Don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, what would you say to someone or to a woman who's thinking of joining the military, joining the army, joining the navy, joining the Royal Air Force? What is there any advice that you would give them because of what your experiences were?
Absolutely. So, I have a daughter, so I'm always preparing myself internally for the day that, and her father was also a military veteran. So I'm always preparing myself internally for the day that she might turn around and want to join the military. So this is something that I kind of toss around in my head, and something why I speak out about it so adamantly, because for a woman going into the military, I would tell her, first of all, you have to have a thick skin. That's the first and foremost. If you have, any source of self-doubt, they will pick at it. They will latch on and they will rip you apart. So you need to make sure that when you go in, you understand that you will be forced to your limits as far as mental toughness. Physical toughness, you could always train, you can always improve, you can always get better. Mental toughness is something that you need to practice on. So that would be the first thing. The second thing is to make sure you're always smart and aware. Watch your drinking habits. Always watch your drink, who you're keeping company with, who you choose to trust as, so quote unquote, your brothers, or even some of your sisters. Because I even have, females that just kind of turned a blind eye when, I was in some situations because they just didn't want to get involved. So just be prepared to have a long, hard road on your own. With that being said, I think it's the most invaluable experience I've ever had in my life. And it really set me up for success and where I am. And I'm very grateful for the military. But you just need to be fully aware of what you're signing up for and what that really means as a woman in this day and age.
You know what I found interesting is when Dom was saying her story, you were acknowledging it, but not in a sympathetic way, in a way like that's what it's like. It's like,
yeah, it is what it is. I mean, because we've all, any female military member listening to right now is like, yeah, I've lived that. It's just kind of similar across the board. When you have a patriarchal system and you put females, especially any kind of attractive females that have a strong personality, they are just gonna, they're gonna be targeted.
Dom, can we hear you?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
That's good, better.
That's better.
A little less wind. I moved down to the corner.
Leanne is saying hey. Hi, Leanne. How you doing, my lovely? Yeah,
first, I wanted to say to Jedediah, thank you for the positive comments that he's been leaving. Hopefully, I'm listening right. He's got a couple nice things. Yeah, that's one of them.
That's from Jed.
Thank you.
You are some tough cookies out of you. Okay.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to be. Especially coming up. I believe in reincarnation, and I think that strong people are typically older souls. For me, that's just common knowledge. So for people that don't believe in that, I know it's maybe not going to resonate, but for me, I already knew so much about myself and who I was when I was growing up, that's what really gave me the strength to look around at my family at 5 and go, you guys are cuckoo. How did I know that? I just did. So I think that people like he and I come into our families to be sort of that rock, and we've already dedicated ourselves to that, I think, before we really get here. And we just maintain that through our lives. And we are what we are already, and that's kind of how we attack and approach life. So thankfully we were strong enough, because I know that I'm the youngest of 5, and not everybody turned out as strong. And what's the difference, For me, it's that we were already kind of pre-built for it, tough cookies. But it definitely made us tougher. Thanks, guys.
Casey, do you have any regrets?
You know what? I'm very happy with where I am currently in life, so I cannot say that I have any regrets. Do I say that I wish I thought some more decisions over? Absolutely. I mean, it would have made things a lot easier, but I really believe it's all part of the learning process. And you get what you're dealt with in life, and the cards that you're dealt, and you just respond appropriately as well as you can.
It's incredible, ladies. So what are you up to now? What does Casey do today? Because you got some cannabis stuff going on.
Oh, yeah. So my day job is I'm a surgical nurse at a high-end plastic surgery clinic in Manhattan, 19 Plastic Surgery. So if you're ever in NYC, come see us. And I work there. And then as well on the side, I'm working on my master's degree, and then hopefully I'm going to be breaking into the cannabis scene. I'm already starting to help guide some veterans. So one of the big things that I like to do is incorporate cognitive behavioral therapy and cannabis use, because cognitive behavioral therapy is pretty much what saved me and a lot of my tendencies, especially when dealing with anger. So I no longer drink until oblivion. I have a 3-drink max. I'm able to say, no, thank you. And then also cope through a lot of other issues using cannabis as a tool rather than a crutch, which I think is the biggest takeaway. I want this, from anything that I say today, is that please don't use cannabis as a crutch. You can use it as a tool because it does show significant properties in the brain that actually help PTSD from an anatomical level. But you also have to put in the work. So my biggest thing right now is I have a nonprofit in the works that's going to teach sexual assault victims, specifically in the military, how to cope through their experiences and their relationships afterwards using a combination of self-compassion, cognitive behavioral therapy, and cannabis if it's so fitting for them. I also can help guide anybody get the medical prescription. Currently, I cannot certify myself, but I have a network that I will be able to refer anybody to a physician that needs to be prescribed, because obviously it's not federally legal in the United States yet. And then, that's pretty much the direction that I'm going. I'd also like to work with obviously any other veteran population, or PTSD from our healthcare workers as well, is another group that I have my eye on. Obviously, from the whole COVID experience, we have a lot of nurses now coming out with trauma that they didn't recently know how to deal with. And I think the veteran community can really lend a helping hand to the first responder community for everything that happened in the last year, because, we've been there.
Do you have any websites, do you think?
I'm currently working on a website, but you can find all of my information and any kind of contact at @Cassabis_med on Instagram. I believe it's scrolling on right below.
Yes, it is.
So that's my Instagram handle right there. So you can, direct message me and just see kind of some of the stuff that I've been working on. Very multifaceted. I do a little bit in holistic, a little bit in plastics, a little bit everywhere. So, don't feel like I'm out of a different, I'm in a different realm. I'm very multifaceted.
Most definitely, and I think your experiences and your life is, this is how it served you today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like I said, I really can't have any regrets, because I'm very happy with where I am in my life, and I'm really big on, you can survive all of your traumas, but can you thrive afterwards? And that's I think was the key of going through any traumatic experience, because at this day and age, I don't think anybody's going to make it in their life without having traumatic experience, especially after this last year. It's just a matter of
fall down to get up.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk with us today too, is because I think that a lot of our work is aligned, and I'm hoping that we can work together in the future for a lot of this the things where it's kind of symbiotic that we're already doing, and like the medical work that you're doing. I think if we kind of brought that here to Tulum, especially with the energy and all the holistic, it's a very holistic space as is. So I'll talk to you more offline, but I think we have a lot we can do in the future.
I think we have a message for you, Dom. It's from a lady called Neve Lennon. She's saying,
I love her a bit.
Yeah, Dom, you're so inspiring. You've changed my life. Casey, a lot of things you said resonate so much with me. Thanks for sharing, ladies. Beautiful. And Leanne is saying exactly, it's about thriving, not just surging. I think she meant surviving. Yes, she did. So thank you, Leanne. So what about you, Dom? What are you up to now? Because you mentioned briefly about what you do. Let me get your website up.
Yeah, so I think you had my computer site. That's so I do everything cybersecurity, where I started with the military government space, and about 13 years of computer work, which has kind of led me in the last year and a half to really focus more on my passion, which is helping people, and being able to sort of pivot from the computer space into the mental computer space. It's been a big drive for me this last year. I've always worked with veterans and trauma victims and assault victims to work, through all their things that in a way that, and I think I ran you through something last time. Yeah. Did it work for you? Like, that was just a very quick little intro, but have you had some relief there?
Sorry,
Do you remember
I can't catch you.
when we ran through the NLP like quick little snippet exercise last time? Did that help you? Did you find some relief?
Yeah,
Was it long term?
most
Yeah,
definitely, most definitely. I
yeah.
mean,
And that was just what, like 3 minutes? I mean, it's insane how quickly this works, and it's something that I've done for myself through all of the, I've had very traumatic experiences, again, as a female in the military and a female in general. I mean, we're constantly undergoing just, God forbid you have a drink, and now, yeah, everything's a yes. It's just, we go through these things day through day, and I've used these techniques for myself, so they know that they work. And again, I've worked with assault victim after assault victim. I've had young boys that were going to kill themselves because of things they saw in war, and you can't unsee those. But the work that I do, it helps you to completely unattach from them, so that when you recall them, it's more like 2 times 2 is 4, rather than reliving it, re-emoting it every single time you recall it. For me, that's a powerful thing. It's just incredible how quickly that kind of trauma can go away and just completely be gone permanently. And then once we do that, we build from there, and we just keep going and to the moon, and then you can build your life positively forward off of that stronger foundation without all those faulty little rocks underneath of your feet, So that's healyoursix.com. PySec is my computer company, cybersecurity company, but healyoursix with the number, HEALYOUR, and 6 the number.com. And again, that's because of the military term, we've got your 6. So you've got your 6 back there too.
Yeah, Guy. I mean, if you guys want to get in touch with Casey or Dom, just hook me up. Give me a message on my Facebook or my email, or just one of my shows, and then I'll definitely get you linked up. For all the experiences that you two have been through, has it, or how has it affected your relationships later on?
Good question. Do you want to go first?
As a woman on my second divorce currently, I can tell you that is impacted my relationships greatly. For a large portion, just mainly because I don't trust as much as I should. And not to say that the relationship didn't have its own issues inherently, but a lot of the times I'm very defensive. I'm very hard-headed, where I need to make sure that I'm good on my own, that I'm independent. What that can do is that can kind of always, a lot of the time, take away from my partner, and how it makes them feel. I kind of shut them out of a lot of my life, as a self-protection, but at the same time, it's not conducive to like a healthy home, a healthy relationship. There's a lot of anger. And then, during my last marriage, I was dealing with a lot of my alcohol, abuse issues. And so that is, something that I had to overcome, but still at the end, the relationship was irreparable. So, I mean, that's my end, is where I'm still trying to learn how to have healthy relationships with men after experiencing different traumas between my father and men in the military. That's something that I'm still working on currently.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I find the same. And actually, something I've noticed really recently is that I'm always trying to ensure that I'm not being taken advantage of. And so I'm very, 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 definitely way overprotective of, are you trying to take advantage of me? Are you trying to use me? Can I trust you? And this I've found, kind of been highlighted recently for me, because it's almost like making everybody pay retribution for your past sins, or for sins of other people from your past, rather. And that's just, again, from having to be so constantly tough in the military, and you don't know who is being nice because they're a nice person, or because they're hoping to get your pants later. Like, you just don't know who your real friends are a lot of the time, And then even on the female side in the military, you've got a lot of people that will throw you under the bus. And then again, that's really anywhere in life as well. But you've got a very dog-eat-dog world sometimes, and so it kind of creates that toughened exterior, unfortunately. So there's a lot of stripping away from that. And again, that's one of the things I focus to dedicate myself to, is helping other people through these types of things, because I can see it. I can look at a person and assess a lot of their root traumas or issues that, you know, you can't see while you're standing in the middle of the woods, unfortunately. But it's really, really nice for me to be able to just intuitively see these things for people, and then I can sort of vet where it's coming from pretty immediately and see where the root is, and then we just go through that little process and we can get rid of it quickly. I wish I could do it for myself more, but I'm in the middle of the woods, you know.
So, you know what?
Still working through that.
What's great to see is that you two you come across so strong and so confident, and empowered in a way, especially after what you've endured, especially in the military and when you were young as well, Casey. I've got to take my hats off to both of you. I think you guys are wonderful, powerful, empowered women, and I think you can help a lot of women out there who are struggling in all different walks of life. So, guys, I just feel so humbled to have you. Thank you very much for. So, any last words? Anything you want to say to the audience? Any last tips? Dom, do you want to say something? Do you want to go first?
Sure, absolutely. For anyone, especially veterans, I know so many young kids that I've talked to that, I mean, especially in the Marine Corps, you're following orders, you see things that you shouldn't see as a child, especially coming out of high school. Nobody should see. But those kids are still growing, their minds are still fragile, and they're going out and they're seeing just the most horrific things. And they're, you know, made to follow orders and things they wouldn't want to do. They didn't necessarily know they were signing up for. And those things cause them for the rest of their lives to never forgive themselves. And I've met plenty of these people, and we have immediately gotten through it. We've gotten through it together, and they've gone on from, rather than being suicidal and imminently, you know, a danger to themselves, to thriving, to getting married, to having good lives, to being able to raise their kids from a much healthier place. And not only just understanding, you know, different perspectives of life, which I have, of course, my myriad of theories on, but understanding it from a place where they feel it and they feel grounded. And if I can help people like that have seen as much as we see, to then thrive. Again, I love those stories. It was actually what I was going to call my company originally, but it was taken. Unfortunately. But yeah, if I can help these people, I mean, that have seen way, way, way too much, these kids, if I can help them, and I can help assault victims that have just gone through absolute terror of experiences, if I can help them to really ground and to be able to rebuild their lives, and not only rebuild, but build even more than they ever thought possible. I really reach out and hope that everybody will contact me that's feeling like they need some help. And I am, you know, I would give the skin off my bones for people. I love humans so much. I want us to all be happy. I want us to all feel good. And I want us to all know we're not alone. And so, again, for veterans, I do nonprofit work constantly. So if you can't afford it, don't worry about it. It's more important that everybody knows they have someone that gives a crap, you know? I bleeped myself.
I love that. I love
try
that.
Not to curse. We do that a lot in the military too.
I love that, man. You're rocking. Casey, any last words?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I want to say is for my other females out there, is that don't ever be afraid to put yourself first, because I believe as women, we sacrifice ourselves so much for others, just as society expects us to, as mothers, as wives, as nurses, as teachers, as waitresses, as everything under the sun. So my biggest thing is always, you can only control yourself. You can't control anybody around you. You can't control situations around you. So if you put yourself first and you build a solid foundation, you can literally deal with anything that comes up against you. And that's my biggest thing.
That's great. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure having you both. Dom, I want you guys back again, and I think we could do things together, because I'm quite big on women's empowerment, as Dom knows. That's how we met, I think. Yeah, so someone has to be, more of us need to step up, right? So it's been great to have you guys. Guys, thank you very much to Casey and Dom. Thank you.
And actually, I just want to put in one more thing, for the both of you. I hope that we can absolutely work together. This is kind of why I reached out to you, Saf. I think that we all have such an aligned effort that we can create something really powerful for people globally, And again, everyone has trauma, and there's there's not one person that can say they don't have some experience from the top to the bottom. So let's all help each other. That's what we're here for.
Peace. Beautiful. Guys, Dom and
So
Casey,
nice to see you both.
remarkable women. Have we got a message? Oh, here we go. Mr. Jed, beautiful ladies, keep shining.
Thank you.
And that's what we want to hear. So, guys, this has been Saf Surgery. Just to get, you'll see me again next Tuesday with TJ Woodward for Universal Recovery, 6 p.m. UK time on Facebook and YouTube. Monday night, don't forget, I'm on Sky TV hosting my own show called Men's Talk. So please come and see me, 9:30 p.m. UK. And are you coming to Dubai, Dom? In April?
I'm hoping to. Yes.
Did yeah, go on.
I'm not sure if I've gotten an invite yet. I have to check with that. But I just wanted to say quickly that my retreat that I'll be having here in Tulum is not just for veterans, but it'll be kind of veteran focused. But I'll have more details on that on the website, feelyour6.com.
Brilliant. And obviously this just scrolling down is Casey's, and you can also find information on this one for Dom. But if you need to get in touch with them, I've got both their details. Link me up and I will introduce you. Guys, this has been amazing. I mean, 3 of us in one screen. Wow, that's a view. But Casey, you have your own podcast as well, don't you?
So I've been guest on podcasts. I haven't started my own, but nothing is out of the question right now.
Wow. Okay. We could. That's interesting. We could do something there. But thank you very much, guys. This is brilliant. 3 people. Two from across the pond. I'm from the UK. It's been a pleasure having you. It's been a pleasure honoring you guys because you're inspirations. This show's called Inspirational People, Inspirational Stories, and you epitomise that. So thank you very much. Thank you guys for watching.
Always a pleasure.
See you later. Peace, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Ciao.